welcome everybody. Welcome to a Friday night. We are live, Moms Who Resell. I do this weekly and get to interview other reselling moms. I love meeting other moms. I love meeting like people, and it gives me something to do on a Friday night. So welcome. If you are joining us, let us know in the comments where you are joining me from. We've already got Lori here. We got Tempting Treasures here. Welcome. And I have a very special guest tonight. So I'm surprised she said yes. So she's kind of a big deal in the Instagram world. I found her first when I started working with Vendu. They reached out to me to start advertising for them a few months ago. And when they did that, I'm like, okay, what is Vendu? So I just did a quick search, looked all over Instagram, and this young lady's face showed up all over. So I'm like, okay, that's awesome. She also must be sponsored by Vendu. So I dug a little more, and no, she's got a much deeper relationship with Vendu. She's actually an employee of Vendu, and her Instagram just cracks me up. She loves to do the trendy videos that I am awful at and gives some great tips and information on being a reseller. So not only is she an employee of Vendu, she's also a reseller. So help me welcome Miss Deanne, also known as Deanne Online, to the show.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome. All right, Deanna, sorry. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you? Obviously, we know you work for Vendu. How long have you been a reseller? When did you start working with Vendu?
So I think I've been a reseller for 7 or 8 years. I don't know when you were to really start when it was just like a tiny little hobby or when it like really went full steam. But so 7 or 8 years. And I started working for Vendu about 3 years ago, maybe a little bit more. I was reselling mostly on Poshmark at the time and Macari, and I was trying to juggle both. So one day I looked online to see if there was like a way to do it better, and found, a couple cross-listing services, and saw that at the time Vendu was free. It was just starting. It was in its beta phase.
Oh,
And it
wow.
was like, if you join this month, it's be free for the next however many months. So I joined. And over time, just ended up having a relationship with like the founders and some of the other people there. And one day I saw a social media manager job pop up, so I applied for it, and because that's what I did, and so I started working for them. And I've gone back and forth. I've done reselling full time. I've done it part time. Now I'm kind of somewhere in between, because I wouldn't really call it part time because of how much hours I really put in, but I also have a full time job. So it's like a full time and a 3/4 full time job.
That's awesome. All right. So I don't want this to be a full Vendu infomercial, but for those of you joining that don't know what Vendu is, it is a cross-listing platform. And honestly, I enjoyed them well before they reached out to me. I was doing the free account with them. And what I loved about them is their app. So that was by far the best thing that they have. That's what sets them apart from List Perfectly, from there was a couple other ones. Flip, I think I tried. I think I tried 2 or 3 others, and I'm like, all right, this is way too time consuming, and Vendu just made it easy. So, all right, there's our plug to Vendu. It is awesome. If you want a referral link, you get 25% off your first month.
Yep.
So definitely ask for that, or it's somewhere in both of our pages to sign up. So why don't you tell us, first we got Nutter in the house. Welcome. Yes, Lori, I think you were doing it too. That month long, they did a promotion. If you posted something every single day for the month, they gave you the whole year for free. And as much as I wanted to do that, because I'm paying for my Vendu, I just couldn't commit. And there was quite a few of this group that did it, and that's amazing.
245 winners, 246 actually, because we just grabbed another
Wow.
one last minute.
Then you're going to see a lot of the
246 people
names
did
in here. So Happy Picker did it. I think Mary, she'll probably be joining us.
Yeah.
Merchant something. I forget
I'm
Mary's tag.
getting ready to go to the Midwest meetup or whatever. So I think I'm going to meet a few people. I see some familiar looking names.
Yes, I think Lori, aren't you hosting? She's
Mhm.
hosting a live thing.
Yeah,
That might be the
that's
one
the
you're
one.
going to.
That's the
Okay,
one.
that's exciting. Yay. Bless you in Tucson. Welcome. All right. So, how did you get started in reselling?
So I did not really realize that reselling was a thing, like, that people did. I don't know how I missed it, but I just really never realized that people did it, right?
Right.
And,
We're just living under a rock.
yeah, and you know what, like, even now, like, when I say it to people, they're like, "What?" Like, you don't realize how many people don't actually realize that people selling on Poshmark and stuff aren't just selling things out of their own closet, right?
Right.
We think it's obvious, but some people it's not. But years ago, went to a thrift store just for fun with a friend on a lunch hour, and I found a I forget what it's called. It's a craft machine, and it like did die cut stuff, and it's
Like
really
a
big.
cricket?
Yeah, yeah, like a Cricut. I found, one of those, and it had all this huge alphabet set and all this stuff, and they had it thrown in the toy section for $8 for all of that stuff and everything that came with it. I'm like, "Oh, they don't know what this is." So, because I was into all the craft stuff back then. So I bought it, and I put it on Craigslist for, like, $85 and sold it, like, within 45 minutes, and I was like,
Wow.
wow, I wonder how much other stuff is out there that is actually worth a lot more money than I could. So when I started researching it, I found out that people were doing that with all kinds of items. I eventually went with clothes just because I know more about clothes than I do about, other stuff. Plus I felt like it was easier to store. So I did end up going with clothes and just going deep into the clothes niche, but that's actually how I started, was selling that craft machine and realizing how you could take those things and make money. And I actually also always had the idea, I wanted to get my dad to do it because my dad is, well, he's retired now, but he was a contractor, and he was always pulling stuff out of people's trash, like leaf blowers and lawn mowers and stuff like that, and fixing them. And I was like,
Yep.
you could resell that stuff on Facebook and Craigslist and make a lot of money. And so that was another thing that kind of went into it, where it made me start thinking, I wonder if people do this for a living. And sure enough, there's,
Right.
tons of us that do it for a living.
Yep. It's funny that you say that. My best friend's husband works for waste management and he's in the commercial side. So, well, he used to be. And he'd pull up to these big warehouse stores, the box stores in the back, and the amount of stuff that's thrown away is ridiculous. I'm like, you could easily make a whole living picking the trash that you're there picking up anyways, and you're not going to
Yeah.
get in trouble because you're literally paid to pick up their trash.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know why more garbage collectors don't resell because I'm sure they'd have a heyday. Unless that's frowned upon. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so my dad will bring over stuff now occasionally, and he sold off a lot of his tools when he retired too, when we sold them for him on Facebook. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
Clothes are easier to store and ship, but for some reason I don't enjoy it. I'm with you, Lori. I do not enjoy it at all. And I still pick some up because I don't know, I have to. So there was two pieces yesterday. I got a Eagles 1994 t-shirt. Like, oh, this has to be worth
Mm,
something. It was $2 at a yard sale. So, or at a state sale. So I grab it and comps are like over $150 for this one t-shirt. Except mine has a stain. I tried to take it out. It has some kind of oily stain on the side. But I'm like, even if I get $100 out of it, I paid $2. And
yeah.
then a Big Dogs. I haven't looked this one up yet, but it's vintage Big Dogs 90s
Mhm.
t-shirt. So I'll grab
Yep.
some of
Those
those
are
just if
fun.
it catches my eye,
Yeah, see,
but I
I
don't
buy
enjoy it.
vintage concert T-shirts all the time. So like this
Yep.
one is from the
New Kids
90s.
on the Block. You did not do this on purpose, but that totally worked.
Yeah, I got mine on eBay.
There you go. I think mine was Goodwill. I don't know. Somewhere like that. Christy's joining us. Welcome. All right, let's see. So you said that you have two kiddos, older now, but still in the helpful age. Are they involved in the business at all?
I, yes, well, each in their own way. So I have an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old. My 18-year-old is autistic, and he doesn't speak a lot. He's a what they call selective mutism, because he does talk. He's able to talk. He just chooses not to. I wish I had that willpower, because like he literally does not ever talk. It's only us. Um, but he really likes, really likes, you know how people with autism get very focused, and he really has a lot of Hot Wheels and Funko Pops. Those are his two like passions.
Ooh, okay.
To the point now where he has too many of each, so he occasionally uses my channels and stuff to have me sell his stuff. So he's kind of
Good.
involved that way. Then he actually got into the live selling on Whatnot. He's like, "Mom, help me out with this." And we applied and he got approved and he did some
Holy
shows. He doesn't
smokes.
Yeah, and he talks a little bit, not a lot, but he talks a little bit and he puts stuff in the chat and he gets by somehow and he's made sales. So I'm really proud of him
Amazing.
for that. So that's like something Whatnot, really opened up for him.
I
Then my
bet.
16-year-old son is actually much more helpful in my business. He's very into fashion for a boy, and he likes to help me shop. He likes to help me take photos. So when he has long weekends or summertime and stuff, he's usually paid to help me take photos and stuff like that.
That's
Um,
awesome. I'm
but
ready for that age. I'm ready for
he's
the
a big
helper
help.
age.
And like help, I have a storage unit now, so helping go to the storage unit, they're bigger, they're both bigger than me. So like I'll take them to the storage for protection, because I've got
There
two
you go.
boys. But yeah, help me carry things, help me take things to the post office. So yep, child labor.
Yes. So Chrissy also is very near and dear with autism. She helps with multiple organizations, but Colin's on the move is her son here, helps her with the business too. He's 30 and on the
Good.
autism spectrum. She's doing, if you want to give a plug to your fundraiser, Chrissy, she's working on a fundraiser right now for this cause. And she's so passionate about it and it's wonderful to watch. Let's see. So, your favorite niche you mentioned is clothing. Do you ever want to branch out from that or you're strictly clothes?
So like lately I've been sourcing and selling a lot more jewelry and I probably will continue with that. Vintage costume jewelry is my favorite. Um, like the weirder and bigger and gaudier it is, the better, the more I like it. So,
And it sells the
oh
gaudy,
yeah.
big, bulky stuff?
Oh yeah, the bigger and gaudier and weirder it is, the faster it sells, really.
Oh,
And a lot of
funny.
I find that stuff a lot of time I was trying to see if I had any like right here that I could show off, but um yeah, that stuff sells really fast for some reason. Like, oh, no, this is the ugly one. Um, but yeah, and I'll find a lot of that stuff at like estate sales. They sell it in huge bags. It's unsorted. You just go through and who knows
Mhm.
what you'll find in there. I've found really expensive pieces in there. I found complete junk in there. You never know what you're going to get. Or I'll
Yep.
buy it by the pound on like eBay or other places like that. And you just go through it. But yeah, I really love that. And that's even easier to store than clothing. It's so small.
Yep.
Um, where does the jewelry sell? But it's a mix. I have been selling it on some cross posted everywhere. So it's really sold. I can't remember if I've sold any on Mercari, but Poshmark and eBay for sure, and on Curtsy as well. So
Okay. What other platforms? What is Curtsy? There's so many platforms, Deanna. I just heard about Bebop like a
yeah,
month ago, and I'm
Depop,
not ready for that.
Depop, the vintage big gaudy jewelry on Depop also.
There's
Curtsy,
so many platforms.
I know. Curtsy is one of the smaller, newer ones. Vendude is not yet connected to Curtsy, so I wasn't going to join. But then I found out that you could sync your Poshmark closet to it. So I'm like, oh, simple, no brainer. Just sync my Poshmark closet and do nothing else, and
No?
make sales. And I am making sales. So it doesn't sync perfectly, but I just leave it. I just put it on there and forget about it. And if something sells, it sells. It's a perfect sync. Like it takes a little while. It takes like 24 hours. So
Okay.
if you had like a super popular item, maybe you might want to remove it if it sells. But other than that, within 24 hours, it catches up with Poshmark. So that's it. That's an
Okay.
easy one if you're not on Curtsy and you're on Poshmark to go ahead and do because it's just you just sync it from your Poshmark closet. And the
So where else do you
fees are very
list?
low. Um eBay, Poshmark, Mercari, Depop, Curtsy. I've sold on Whatnot. I have a live seller thing. I just haven't been using it much. Um, I've listed things to Grailed, but I've only made one sale. So I don't know if we want to count that one or not.
I
And those are like the
don't know
main
if it
ones. Oh,
counts in half of these places.
yeah, and
And what
Facebook
about
Market.
Dibbed It? That's a new hip trendy one. Have you done that one?
No, but I probably should look into it because I've got a lot of trendy clothes.
It's yeah. So who? I think it's Stephanie. Um. Oh my gosh, I forgot her tag. She'll probably be on here, but she posts on there that she does these different videos. Yeah, I think it was Stephanie. And you basically dib stuff, like dibbed it, like dibs on something. And I think it's live. I'll have to be corrected. I don't know if she's here or not in the chat, but
Mhm.
Belle resells and she talks about it a lot on her YouTube. So I don't know. I can't keep up with it. I just do like the three major eBay,
Mhm.
Macari, and occasionally Poshmark, but I can't keep up with them all.
Yeah, it depends on
Yeah,
what
Dibbed It is
you.
a trash to cash guys on District platform. You're speaking a different language, Lori. What is District platform? Trash. Okay, those are YouTubers. Like knickknacks? You are way too cool for school. I don't even know what half of this is. What's the secret to Depop? I call it Bebop. Or is there one?
uh,
What's your trick for them?
there's a couple secrets. So, one is definitely to source for Depop. So not 100% of what I list goes on Depop. Um, because people that shop on Depop are more likely to actually go to your profile and look at your overall profile and see if you're a person they want to follow and buy from based on what you have listed. So if you have like a lot of like, let's say you have like a lot of mature brands or things and they're not going to be interested in, then they're not going to like pay attention to your account.
Okay.
So, and it's a younger crowd. So what's nice about the younger crowd is that they're very much into the look, the aesthetic, the core, they call it, the dark academia core and the cottage girl core and all these different ones. And it doesn't
So
matter so
old.
much. I know. But you know what? My kids make me young because they taught me all this stuff. But they don't so much care what the brand is. You can sell something that's completely unbranded, has the tag ripped out of it. They don't even know what the brand is, but if it's cottagecore, it's going to be sold.
That's
um,
hilarious.
yeah, so that's one secret. And my sourcing secret for that was in the beginning when I didn't know what to sell is I took teenagers. I took my 16-year-old and my 15-year-old niece. I took them to Plato's Closet and like I followed them around and everything they touched or picked up or looked at, I put it in my cart.
There you
And
go.
all that and it sold. And that's when I started learning about taking the time to learn about all those different aesthetics. And that's why I post about them on my Instagram account for other people that don't know about them and what they are.
Yep.
But you have to know what they are. You have to tag them and put those keywords in there.
Yep.
The other secret is you have to refresh. It's kind of like sharing on Poshmark, but you have to bump your listings, which is basically just pressing the edit button, but not actually making any changes and then saving it. And I'm not going to do that all day. So I have a bot for that. Just like you have bots for Poshmark, there's a bot for Depop. Um, and that's another thing that helps you make more sales.
All right. Oh my gosh, there's a whole new world out there. Chrissy, thank you for sharing. Here's the whatnot for Deanna's son. So if anyone wants to check it out, so it just applied to District. District is the site Crazy Lamp Lady opened up. Oh my goodness. Gotta be approved to sell on there. So, okay, I'm just confused. We'll just leave it at that. District is a newer selling platform. Knick-Knack is Crazy Lamp Lady's district. So you create different districts inside this platform? Okay, I don't know. I'm gonna have to Google all this. I don't know. Knick-Knack isn't that started by Crazy Lamp Lady? Yeah. I picked up some interesting items recently and want to list on there. There's definitely a market for it because when I'm going to my thrift stores or my local savers, like you see the young kids in the clothing aisles going through it all, and you know they're reselling. So it's
Yeah,
definitely becoming more popular.
on Poshmark, brands that people know. Brands that people know and they've worn a bunch of times and they're exactly sure how it fits them. That's what sells better on Poshmark. Whereas on Depop, the more unusual it is, the better. If it's handmade, if it's vintage, if it's unbranded boutique something or other that just fits the aesthetic, they'll buy it and it doesn't, yeah, they don't care at all like what the brand is. There's not really a popular brand on Depop. It's
And
more
how do you price things? It's not auction, right?
it's not an auction. Pricing on Depop's a little weird. I tend to just price usually whatever I'm pricing on Poshmark, I just leave it the same. But um it depends. Like if it's something weird, if it's something weird or vintage, I always price it up because you can always come down. I mean,
Right.
and so I tend to overprice instead on there because you can put your stuff, your whole Depop closet on sale at once, which is really nice. And you can put 10, 20, 30, 50, percent off. So if my prices are high, I don't mind because I constantly have that one of those sales going for like 30% off or something. You can offer a big steep discount if you have your prices a little
Nice.
higher to start with.
Wow. I'm learning so much.
Yeah, the vintage clothes
What?
on Depop for sure.
Yeah. What is your favorite way to source? I know before we went live, we were talking a little bit about Goodwill. Uh, do you like Goodwills? Do you prefer other sources? How do you get your goods?
I definitely started out with heavily on Goodwill, which is and Savers, which are the two main thrift stores we have in my area. And I did go to the bins a bunch of times in the first because we have two of them where I live. But that got old eventually. Goodwill's prices have gone up so much. There's like ridiculously overpriced now. We say that, but then we mark it up like another 300%. But for a Goodwill store, it's, their prices are getting high and you don't find as much stuff now, and reselling is more popular, so it's more competitive. So,
Yeah.
I do still love to go to estate sales and garage sales because you can really find stuff. People are just wanting to get rid of their stuff, so they're selling it super cheap. They're not trying to up
Mhm.
price. They're not trying to like comp it on eBay and price it like the Goodwill stores are trying to do now.
Right.
Um, so I love that, and I mostly buy stuff online now. I buy tons of stuff. I've gotten pallets. I've done the smaller pallets, like boxes of stuff. Both used and new at tags. I like
Wow.
wholesale and liquidation sites. Yeah, so kind of a mix because I also really want to find that vintage jewelry. So I'm still out there at estate sales and stuff, but I do most of my sourcing online now. Mhm.
All right. That's becoming more popular. I enjoy the going out in person, though. I think that's still the joy of thrifting to me. That's the joy of all of reselling is
Yeah.
the
So
walking out and going to the sales.
yeah, and I'll still do that when for fun, or
Yeah.
especially since I sell a lot on Depop, I really go to we have I don't know if everyone has this, but we have a place called Plato's Closet, which is like younger, it's like a buy sell trade store for younger
Hmm.
crowd. They routinely have 70 and 90% off sales. So I wait for those. So 4 or 5 times a year they have these huge sales and I'll just buy a lot during that time.
Okay.
And then that's why I always have this giant death pile going. But it's because like I only shop during those big sales. Mhm.
Gotcha. And you said that you have a storage unit too. How big is your storage?
I don't know, I got the biggest one they got. Whatever whatever the biggest one is, that's the one I got.
Nice. Do you just store your stuff there, or do you have one of those stations where you can print and ship and run everything out of it?
There's no electricity. You can't have like electrical outlets. So I put up lights, but they're like battery powered. Um, and I have a little table where I can like ship stuff. So if I'm like, wanting to get something out of there and I want to like ship it immediately, I can go ahead and package it up and there. But mostly I do my shipping and stuff from home. So
And how close is the storage from your house?
very, very close. It's just right around the corner from my house. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, they raised my rates already, and I was like, I don't want to switch storage units. So I just contacted them,
Yep.
negotiated it down a little bit. And then I think the next time they raise my rates, I think they do it like every 8 months. I'm actually going to switch to another storage unit in the same building. That was a trick I heard from a friend. Like it's a bit of a pain in the ass. And I told him I was going to do it. I was like, I'm just going to buy a different storage unit in your facility and move over there for and get the starter price all over again. And they're like, okay.
Oh
So
my
they know people do
gosh.
that, but I'm like, you could save us
They're
both
trying to call
trouble.
your bluff,
I know,
but
I'm like, you could save us both the trouble and just keep my rate the same, and I won't do that.
right. Just the thought of having to move it all. I mean, unless
I
I guess
know.
if you have it all on like the on casters on the rolling storage racks.
Yeah, mine don't roll, but like if they're on shelves and then on bins, they could easily be taken to another unit in the
There
thing.
you
But
go.
my
Get a
husband,
couple
between
good
my husband and my
wagons
two
and
teenagers, they can get it done.
there you go. I just I just sold that ink that had a certain word in it. I love Play-Dohs. Yeah, we have a couple in Tucson, but I've only gone like once or twice, and it seemed to be pretty high price, like already at eBay prices. So you've got to wait for those sales,
Yeah,
at
mine.
least for mine.
Yeah, the one by me, I've gone to some in different states and they vary. Yeah, their pricing varies. Mine are not that bad to begin with, but I always wait for the sales. If it's not 50% or more off, I don't even go to the store.
Yeah, exactly. Ginger Marvin stores in the storage unit too. I didn't realize that. I thought they were still in their house where they had all those beautifully lettered mailboxes or whatever boxes, like the banker boxes, and they're just like so aesthetically pleasing. They look perfect. I thought that was just in their house.
It is a little
That's my
annoying to not
dream.
have the item, especially since I sell stuff that people ask questions about a lot.
Oh, that's
So
a
I
pain.
can't, yeah, I can't always, I like to provide quick customer service, but I can't like necessarily just run to the storage
Right.
unit every couple times a day. So
Yeah. And
that's the one.
99% of the time, they're just going to ghost you after you answer it anyway. So save yourself the hassle.
Yeah, I still like to answer them. I mean, I figure most of it's measurements, questions,
Yeah.
specialty measurements that like I don't because I include measurements, but it'll be something, something I didn't measure, of course. And
Right.
yeah, I'm figuring that they're asking for a reason, like maybe the way their body is, like maybe the leg opening width or whatever is super important,
Yep,
and they need
calf.
to know
I
it.
get that a lot.
Yeah,
How wide is the calf? I'm like,
yeah.
all
So
right, well, this pant is as tall as I am, so where would your calf go?
yeah, I know.
Doesn't help being 5 foot.
Yeah, and then I figure that's also why they don't buy so often because that number is very important, and if it's not the right size, they can't buy
Right. True. But sometimes they just shop in person. There
it.
was one guy that was asking to a measurement of a hat. It was just a cowboy hat, and they wanted the measurement of the top of it. So I give that to him, and he's like, "Okay, well, I need to see it on somebody." I'm like, "Okay, I'll just put it on my glass head and send you a picture of that." "Oh, no, no, I need to see it on you." I'm like, "It doesn't even fit my head. I'm not putting it on."
Of me, I'm like, I'm not putting
Right.
anything on. I'm not modeling
It just sounds
anything.
creepy. Yep. And then my husband tried to put it on. It didn't fit him either. Like, this just looks ridiculous. What is your favorite thing about this business? I'm going to say both, the reselling business and your venue. Let's hear kind of what you love about both.
Um, for reselling, I just like okay, I'm just reselling for money. I'm not I'm not trying to change the world or anything, push sustainability. I love all those I think of those as extra benefits. Um, Obviously I'm doing it for the money. But I really have enjoyed getting to know the reseller community. I've made so many friends doing it. And like during slow months and stuff, where like you're having a slow month, so 4 or 5 times a day, you're like, why don't I just sell all this stuff and quit? I mostly don't do that because of the friends that I've made and how much fun it is. And of course, it also has to do with my daily job. So that would be a
Can't,
little weird.
it'd be hard to quit reselling while you work for a cross-listing platform.
Yeah. So that keeps me going. Vendu keeps me going for sure in those slow months. But and then working for Vendu, oh my gosh, I left and came back. So we were talking about this before the show started. I worked for Vendu for close to 2 years, and then I had to quit because my oldest son was very sick, and I had to do this. We had to do this outpatient thing, and it was like every day, 5 days a week, and I didn't know how long it was going to be, so I just quit. So I was like, I can't take a leave of absence because I don't know how long, and I know it's going to be a long time. So I quit. They hired someone else. 8 months later, everything was good and I was getting ready to go back to work, and I just happened to notice that my job was posted, and I'm
Ah,
like, so I messaged them and I'm like, "Is my job really open again, or did you forget to take this down from before?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah,
right.
it's open again. The person, didn't work out." And I was like, "Okay, great. I'm coming back."
Perfect.
So I
Wow.
think that
Talk
says a
about
lot.
timing. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
That says a lot about, like, what the company was like to work for if you took 8 months off and you wanted to come back. Because normally, that would have been like, "Oof, I'm so glad to be out of there. I can't wait to move on to a
Right.
new opportunity," but no, I couldn't wait to go back.
That's awesome. We've got Stephanie, Lady Suburbia here. Welcome. What is your biggest pet peeve in reselling?
Oh, gosh. Um, I don't know. I don't let a lot of things bother me. So, like, lowball offers don't really bother me like they bother other people. I don't take it personally.
Right.
People that ask questions doesn't bother me. Yeah, I've had some cases that have bothered me in the past, where like the person's not telling the truth, but like they're just basically trying to force the return. That's annoying. Um, but I don't know. My biggest pet peeve about reselling, I think, is taking all these damn pictures because I do not. Oh, sorry, I'm not. I don't know if this is a family friendly show. I do not. I don't like taking the pictures. That's my downfall. That's what slows me up the listing process the most. Is I actually don't enjoy taking the photos, so I put it
Yeah.
off or I do it slowly because I don't really like it.
Yeah.
I've tried to
Hey.
hire someone to take photos. My son does it occasionally when he has time, but I want him to focus on school when it's school time. But I've tried twice to hire someone to come over and take photos, and it didn't work either time.
Yeah. That'd be hard, especially having them in your home and doing it to your standards and being reliable. That's
Yeah,
another huge thing
and
for sure.
affordable.
Yep. Yeah,
'Cause
you'd almost have to do like a per listing type thing. Like you couldn't pay them hourly or they'll just take very slow pictures. So
yeah,
it'd have to be like
I
10
tried
cents per
both.
listing or
Yeah,
something.
I tried both. Neither one really worked out, but
Yeah. Yeah, just turn on a good podcast, a good YouTube and hammer it away.
yeah. And since I work during the day, but my job's very flexible, I'm usually just doing the photos on my lunch hour. Since
Yeah,
that's when the best lighting is. It's harder at night. Even with all these lights and stuff, it's easier to take the photos and get the lighting right during the day. So,
for sure. What are some of your best and your worst buys and flips?
gosh, I have an embarrassing amount of death pile inventory tucked away in my basement, from the early days of thrifting, like that long ago, like stuff that's 5 or 6 years old that's sitting in the bag
Oh,
that I
wow.
refuse to open because I know it's full of bad stuff that I bought in the beginning when I didn't really know what I was doing.
Right.
Occasionally, I take out a box or bag of it just for fun, just to see like how cringy it really is. And brands that I thought were good or brands that are oversaturated. You see a lot of brands pushed on YouTube or by like other Instagram people, and they're like, "Oh, I sell tons of this brand, but if you try to buy it and sell it, like it doesn't sell for some reason." So,
Yeah.
um a lot of my best stuff is vintage stuff. I sold a vintage fur coat that I bought online as part of a deal. I bought a whole box of vintage furs, and they were all pretty mid-priced. A lot of them were I think they were like $8 a piece, and I sold a lot of them for between 60 and $80, but one I sold for $1,200, I think.
Holy
Uh,
smokes.
yeah. And then so that was a good one. Not as big of dollar amount, but just fun. At the bins, I pulled out this T-shirt. This was early on. This is one of my favorite ones ever. I pulled this T-shirt out, and it looks like something somebody made, like homemade. Before the T-shirt printing at home got big. But it was like I didn't recognize it, but it was definitely Tupac, Biggie, and Eazy-E. But it was like skeletons and all this other stuff going on, but they were skeletons of them, but it was definitely them. I recognized them because I'm from the 90s, you know. I'm Gen X. So I was like, it had no brand name on it. I was like, what is this? So I just bought, I'm like, I'm at the bin, so it's a t-shirt. I'm gonna throw it in. Sent it to a friend of mine who works in the music industry in LA, and she was like, she got all excited. She's like, that's West Coast Kings of Rap, blah blah blah. Like she went on and on about all the details. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna look this up on eBay, and yeah, sure enough, I sold that for like $250, I think. So
Wow.
that was another one of my favorite ones.
That's awesome. Lori says it's cleaning things that annoys me and slows me down. So why do I keep buying things that need clean?
I don't
I tell
anymore.
you.
I
I
stopped.
tell you.
I
Very
stopped, and
rare.
yeah, I pull stuff out of my death pile all the time and be like, nope, donating that.
Yeah.
I no
It's
longer
got to
need.
be worth it. That's like with that did I talk about that during the live? Or was it pre-live where I picked up that Eagle shirt and
Mhm.
it's got an oil stain on it. So yesterday, I've always used the Dawn Power Wash. That seems to be a good household everything cleaner. So I sprayed it with that, let it sit for like 10 minutes, ran it through the washer. It didn't get it out. So that was my only hope. If it worked, great. If not, now it's being sold as is. And then I got a pair of recently wore some golf shoes that needed just a quick scrub. So I put some of that blue, I don't even know what it's called, like an OxyClean blue goop. They just scrub. I'm like, for $80 shoes, I'll give it a 5 minute scrubbing. But that's it. Everything else is sold as is. And if it's super icky, I just won't buy it. Leave it for
Yeah,
someone else who wants to clean it.
same. And if I bought something by accident that has a stain, or if it's something comes in like one of my boxes or something, it just depends on what it is, right? Like you can kind of tell by looking at it sometimes, like, okay, well, this will come out easily if I just wash it, like with some stain remover.
Mm,
That's as far, but like you said, that's as far as I'll go. I'm
yep.
not going out of my way. I'm not trying 10 different things. I'm not repairing
Nope.
anything because I don't sew. So, uh,
Yep, exactly. It is how it is. All right. Chrissy's asking recommendations for getting a sweater or clothing authenticated. Have you ever had to do that?
nope.
I've heard of the Real Real. I've heard there, I think you pay for
Mhm.
it. I don't think you probably pay per item. I don't know how the payment works, but the Real Real is pretty common,
I
but
had thought
I've
about
never used
getting
it.
the mink coat, the vintage mink coat authenticated in some way. I looked up some fur houses and looked up the prices and that and stuff. In the end, I went ahead and sold it on Poshmark because they have that thing where if it's over $500, you actually send it to Poshmark and they authenticate it before they send it on. So I just went ahead and went with that. Um, I know a lot of people that sell tennis shoes, and there's some specific apps that you can take they make you take like 20, 30 pictures of the thing, and then you send it in and they authenticate and give you a little certificate. Um, so I guess you could do that if you had something that was worth authenticating.
Right. I authenticated a baseball signature. I was new in reselling and I got this, it was a glass framed, shucks, who was on it? Um, Mantle. Does that ring a bell? Okay, these really old baseball players. And I'm like, surely these have to be worth something. So I paid like $7 at a yard sale. I paid $100 to get it authenticated. And it's real. It wasn't a reprint. It turned out to be authentic. But I looked up what it was worth and it was like less than what I paid to authenticate it. So I'm like, now I've got a collector's piece that I'm never
Yeah.
selling because
Yeah, we'd have to be
I would be in the
sentimental.
negative.
Baseball
So
stuff is not yeah, baseball stuff does not resell as well as some of the other sports.
I
Mm.
thought surely that was my retirement fund, and it was a flop. And it's not even on display. It's sitting tucked underneath my listing desk, just sitting there. It should probably go up in my son's room or something. Something to show it off. Rachel Strickland, there you go. She knows the fakes. She is the pro.
Yeah,
Copycat, welcome.
I went to an event at Grail's headquarters one time, and they had like a game. They had this whole table set out with designer stuff, and you had to guess which things were real and which ones weren't. I did terrible at it. I don't think I
I
got a
would
single one
totally be
right.
awful. Yeah. Unless it was so obvious, like the stitching was sideways or the logo was bent, like it'd have to be blaringly obvious
Yeah,
because there's some fakes that look good.
yeah, and you'll notice. I mean, I'm not a luxury seller. Luxury stuff doesn't interest me.
Yeah.
It's never interested me. Clothing and fashion actually never interested me until I got into this. Um, and so I don't sell that stuff, so it's generally not a problem. I don't usually have a Gucci purse that I need to authenticate because
Right.
I wouldn't pick that up to begin with, but, um,
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
But now they're faking out even things that shouldn't be faked, like Patagonia. People are faking Patagonia. Like, why
Mhm.
would you go through the effort for a $30 sweatshirt to make a fake? Like, it's not even worth it.
Well, you know, a lot of those fakes come from directly from the factories overseas that make them for. So, like, what will happen is they'll get a contract to make a bunch of stuff for Nike, and the employees that work there and don't get paid very much and are unhappy about that will go and after hours and make a bunch more and resell, and that's how they get such exact copies because they've got the original plans, they've got the original stuff, they got access to the logo, they got everything that they need. A lot of the fakes are actually made by the
Weird.
same companies that sell the real stuff.
Wow. Mind blown. That's crazy. What is your biggest obstacle to overcome as a reseller, a mom, and working full time?
Oh gosh, sleep. Not spending enough time. Sometimes I won't realize if I'm spending a lot of time working, after work, I'm still working, and on weekends, I'm still working, both in reselling and in Vendu. Because I'm the social media manager, I get personally messaged. Well, I get messaged on the Vendu account and in my personal DMs all the time, Vendu questions, day, night, weekend, holiday, it doesn't matter. And I am like a person that must respond immediately. Like if somebody sends me a message, it will cause me anxiety if I try to wait till Monday to answer it. So I just answer it, right? So I'm always working. So sometimes my husband or my kids will be like, you're going to spend time with us now and you're not going to be on your phone and you're not going to do this. So
Right. Well, that's a good one for sure. That's an over here. Yes. Okay. What is your favorite reseller tip that you wish everyone knew? Use Vendu. Use Vendu. There's your plug.
Oh god, a couple things. Yeah, cross listing for sure. I mean, that has to do with Vendu, but cross listing for sure because it Poshmark was so popular. I was so easy to sell on when I first started reselling because reselling wasn't as popular. During the pandemic, um, we were really making money because everyone was shopping from home, but then also everyone started to run a home business too. So all of a sudden, towards the end of the pandemic, you gain more and more and more resellers. Now it's just so oversaturated, and you got the live selling and stuff that if I didn't have the income from the other platforms, I wouldn't have made it. If I was only selling on Poshmark, there were some years that are great and some years or months or some months that are great and some months that are terrible, but the other platforms will pick up, for it.
Right.
eBay is now my second biggest platform, and it used to, I used to really struggle there, and I couldn't figure out how people were making sales on eBay because I couldn't make a sale to save my life. But somehow at some point I got enough tips from everyone, and eventually, it started kicking in for me. But you got to cross list. You got to uh, if this only goes for clothing, but there's a lot of people in reselling that are selling clothing that cannot be bothered to put measurements and clothing material like spandex of cotton, whatever, in their listings, and they're like, no, it takes too much time. No, you really need those measurements. You are selling on platforms that don't accept returns for fit. And in the US, the sizes are so unregulated. Like an 8 in one brand is completely different than an 8 in another brand, especially in women's. Vintage is completely different. If it's a different era, it's going to be a completely different size. If somebody has washed it and worn it, worn it and washed it, it's going to be a different size. So you
No.
have to include measurements. And people will tell me, oh, I don't include measurements and I still make sales. Right. But you can't measure the sales that you didn't make because you didn't have the measurements in there and they didn't want to take the time to ask you for them. So measurements are a kind of a pet. I guess we'll go back and we'll list that under my pet peeves when people won't add measurements for clothing.
There you go. So, what is your number one platform?
It's a Poshmark, probably because I sell clothes.
Yeah.
eBay is really slowly creeping up there, though. It's really for a while, Depop was my number 2 for a long time, but Depop is kind of chilled, for a lot of people that I know. Uh, I'm not sure what happened at some point. It just kind of slowed down. Um, but so they were number 2 for a while. Now eBay's number 2, but Poshmark is usually number 1. I'm not sure if I've even had a month yet where they weren't number 1. Maybe this month might be the first one because this month is really bad for Poshmark. But I'm making sales on other platforms, so
There you go. Well, that's the proof in the pudding. You got to cross list if you want to keep making sales.
yeah. And that's true even if you don't sell clothing because there's a lot of
Yeah.
places will sell, multiple things. You could be selling home goods or
Yeah.
trading cards or car parts. I don't care, whatever you're selling. You should
Perfect.
probably be on more than one platform.
Absolutely. What was the hardest learning curve that you thought was in reselling?
eBay, learning how to make sales on eBay. Um, I mean, somewhat the clothing because, like I said, I kind of just picked it because, like, I once I understood the whole reselling thing, I knew I wanted to do it. I wanted to pick an area to specialize in, and I actually was not that into fashion, and I really am now, but I really wasn't when I started. So I had to learn all that stuff, and I had to learn what
Yeah.
different patterns were and what different styles were called and different dress types and all this stuff. I had to learn all that because I didn't already know it.
Right.
Um, so that was a little bit of a learning curve, but I would say eBay. eBay is, if you started on eBay, then you're like, oh, all these other
Right.
platforms are so easy. But if you started on something simple like Poshmark, eBay is a hard learning curve.
That's interesting. Yeah, I started on eBay and then it's going to all these other 50 other platforms. So
Yeah.
eBay's my happy place just because I know it. And to me, it's easy
Mhm.
because that's all I know. But
Yeah.
like you said, if you know what you think is an easier platform, it's harder
So,
to
but then when you
switch.
go over to from eBay, go over to like Poshmark where there's only like 10 fields you have to fill out and everything ships in the same box, you're like, "Oh, this is this is so
Yeah.
nice."
But then that's where I made the mistake. So Chrissy or Lori right here was saying that she also sells a lot of non-clothing on Posh. My first sale ever on Poshmark bit me in the butt. I had listed, oh God,
Heavy.
what was it? Something way too heavy. It was,
Yeah,
I don't even remember what it was, but it was something big and heavy and it weighed like
over
15
50.
pounds. And
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Like eBay, I can ship things. What was it? Oh, a Margaritaville blender that I was sitting on forever on eBay. And yeah, this thing weighed like 15 pounds. So I ended up having to go outside a platform, go onto Pirate Ship, print my label, eat the cost of it because I can't go charge this guy for it. So I ended up making maybe $5 on this blender and
Yeah,
should
because
have
everything
been,
ships for $5. You can upgrade your postage up to 10 pounds, but then that's it. Like, if
that's
it's
it.
weighs more than that, you're not allowed to ship it through Poshmark. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Now I know. So I just, as long as it's like a pound, I don't even go more than a pound. Like it's got to be really small and really light. Then I'll put it on Poshmark. If I think it
Yeah.
might be more than that, not even risking it. All right, Stephanie's got a question for Vendu. Do you find cross-listing beneficial for non-clothing categories? 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
We
like you said.
Vendu Yeah, not everybody who's on Vendu is clothing seller. We have people selling all kinds of things. Like, that's why I brought up car parts. We have like some eBay sellers that are just killing it selling car parts. Who you
Yep.
know who knew actually parts of anything with parts because people buy stuff and one part goes wrong and they don't want to get rid of the whole thing. They want the part, right?
Right.
Um, uh, home decor, glass. Lots of people are selling all types of different glassware, like little vases and things like that. I see on there regularly. Jewelry I see regularly. Trading cards, toys, um, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. I think just being mindful of what that platform is. Like for
Yeah,
Macari, it's pretty much apples to apples what's on eBay.
yeah.
But then, okay, going over to Bebop, you want to make sure that it's your trendy clothes. And going over to Posh, your clothing, but then also your glass and your vintage, as long as it weighs less than 5 pounds. And so it's just learning, I think, the different platforms. But oh
Yep.
yeah, definitely beneficial to cross list. and probably more than I do. Even with Vendu, I still only cross list to Macari and then occasionally Posh. But I know there's
Yeah.
10 other
And
platforms on there.
you might feel really safe with a platform like eBay because they've been around for so long, but eBay just laid off like half their employees. You
Yep.
never know. Whatever platform you're on, you do not own that platform. We're not selling on our
Right.
personal websites. We don't own the platform. The platform can shut down overnight. It can just
You
be
can get
gone.
banned.
You could get banned. You could they could change something so radically that you can't to sell it, you don't make the rules. So
Right.
they could eliminate the whole category you sell in and be like, we're not going to allow this anymore. So you really need to be on more than one platform.
100%. You sold expired rolls? Okay. You'll have to elaborate on that. Bebop. Yeah, see, that's how cool I am. It's not Depop, it's Bebop. All right, I sold expired rolls of, there's the rest of it, of unused film on Poshmark. I almost didn't even put it on Posh, but figured I might as well. And it sold within an hour. Holy cow. I never would have thought to put it on Poshmark,
Yeah,
but it does weigh less than a pound, so it would have fit my criteria.
Poshmark has a toy section too, and I've sold Leo's toys on there, and they actually sell quite well because there's not a lot of competition. There's not a ton of people posting Funko
Yep.
Pops on Poshmark, so you can actually sell them pretty quickly on there.
Wow. Yeah, I need to broaden my horizons. Let's pick another question here. Where do you see, or how do you see your businesses growing this year?
So I had some plans. I definitely am getting heavier into the jewelry, and because I can get it pretty inexpensively, I might even do the live selling with it. I've done a few live sales before. Live selling's not my favorite thing. Like I know because I do a lot of Vendu videos and I do a lot of interviews, that I seem like an extroverted person, but I'm not. I'm very introverted person. The minute the
Wow.
show is over, I'm going to bed because I'll be like completely wiped out from having to talk. And I do this once a week for Vendu. We have these coffee chats and cocktail chats. I do this all the time, but it doesn't
Okay.
matter. Like that does not make live selling easier. You think it would, but it really doesn't.
Yep.
But I like the jewelry shows because you get to sit, and I'm lazy, and you can have the camera on the jewelry, and you don't have to like be on you. You don't have to be on and smiling the whole time. Like nobody
Right.
knows what you're doing behind the camera. So I actually started. I put some on my Instagram the other day. I started making my little area, my little backdrop, and now I just need to get a
Ooh.
table, and then I'll be good to go. I'm able to live sell on Poshmark and whatnot, so I just don't do it, but I'm like approved or
Mhm.
whatever. Um, so I will probably be doing that to kind of expand my business, and that was my only real goal for this year. The other goal is really just to get my stuff listed. I have more unlisted inventory than I have listed inventory right now.
Oh, wow.
So, I really need to work on that. I had kind of like a no sourcing rule for this year, except for jewelry, and I have uh, voluntarily not gone to two Plato's giant sales. In fact, they're having a 90% off clearance sale this weekend, and I'm not going
Ooh, that's
because
gotta be tough.
they have enough stuff. But yeah, every single time I get a text from them, which is like every day, I'm like, oh, maybe I could just go, maybe I could just go for a little bit,
Damn
but
it,
I
10
have not.
minutes. Just give you 10 minutes.
So it was today and tomorrow. And so now I'm like, okay, I made it through today without going. So tomorrow I'll just tell myself, yeah, there's nothing good left because it's the
Right.
second day,
It's
right?
all picked over. Just
I'll
junk
take
now.
it over. Don't worry about it.
Oh, fun. Except you have a basement. I'm so jealous of that. We don't get basements here because our ground is clay. So they can't dig in it. Therefore, we don't get basements. And maybe it's a good thing because then I would just buy more stuff. But I do
Yeah.
wish I
I
had a
mean,
basement.
I was really taking up all the space in the basement. My husband really wanted some of the space. So I was like, let me just we were running out of room to put stuff, like our own stuff. So I was like, let me just alleviate the stress by getting a storage
Mhm.
unit. I make enough money per month to pay for the storage unit. So
Yeah.
it's, and it's a business expense. And we can stick other since I bought the biggest storage unit you can get and I didn't really need it. We've got plenty of room in there. So like if we need to stick something of ours in there for a while, we can.
Oh, there you go. And the fact that it's close. That'd be my biggest thing is they're building and I think they're almost done. My closest storage unit is still probably about 15-ish minutes away. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
mine's
yeah, it's
real.
not awful, but
Yeah,
to
mine's
do it multiple
super
times a
close. I
day.
think it only takes me about 5 minutes to drive there.
Okay.
Um, so and that's like that includes getting out of my own subdivision, that's like the
Yep.
most time it takes. Um, Also our weather is not that bad here. Like it gets super hot, but we don't get a ton of snow. We do get some snow, and yeah, going to the storage unit in the snow is not the most fun. We do get ice here. That we did have a couple of days where like I could not you could not go out and drive because there's too
Mhm.
much ice. But Missouri is fairly good on weather. Like it's
Yeah.
not like northern, so we don't get like tons of snow, and so I should be able to
In
get
the
there.
desert where it's 120 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're good in between.
Yeah, we're good in between. I'm in St. Louis and we're kind of surrounded by lakes, so sometimes our weather is a little screwy because of so much being surrounded by so many
Yeah, a
lakes.
little more
But other than
humidity.
that, it's yeah, it's a good place to have a storage unit because some states it wouldn't be because of like extreme weather would prevent you
Right.
from getting to the storage or it would damage the items in the storage unit if
Yeah.
you didn't
Well,
pay
that's
for
why we
it.
can't store in the garage for that reason. The heat, I mean, bugs and stuff too, but it's mainly the heat because
Yeah,
I'd have stuff melting. It would
yeah,
literally melt. So,
yeah. I
can't
have
risk
some
that.
stuff that I won't put in the storage unit. So like real leather doesn't go in the storage unit. Certain plastics don't go in the storage unit, and the jewelry stays here too.
Yeah. What are your goals with the Instagram, or are you looking at growing on YouTube, or you just like staying on Instagram?
I'm probably just staying on Instagram. I didn't even do a TikTok. I love watching TikToks, but I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing TikTok. Because I do it for my job and because I do social
Mhm.
media all day long for my job, it's like it's the last thing I feel like doing for myself.
Yeah.
My Instagram account just sort of happened on its own. Like I didn't put like tons of planning into it like I would like for my job. You would think that I could just apply those skills to my personal and make it huge, but I just don't feel like it at the end of the day. I'm just too
Right.
burnt out on social media and content creation and content plans and
Yeah.
statistics and data and all that stuff. So I really just throw up on my personal Instagram whatever I want and just luckily people like it.
Oh, there you go. You don't do like a month of filming ahead of time or any of that?
Not at work, yes. At home, no. Usually, if you see a TikTok, I usually thought of it, filmed it, and put it up. Yeah, within like 10 minutes.
There you go. Yeah, I've always seen that being quite a strategy. And I mean, goals, sure, but trying to create a month's worth of content
Yeah.
a month
If
ahead of
I
time.
Yeah, if I didn't have a day job at all, I would do that. If and I wanted to grow my Instagram, that is what I would do. I would batch
Mhm.
the content just like we do at
Yep.
work. Um, but yeah, I just
Much
couldn't be
work.
bothered. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm like at 7:30 in the morning trying to get in a half an hour of creating those collages with all the pictures and the hashtags that I do like right before work starts.
Yep.
Usually the day that I'm going to post it.
There you go. And that's still a lot of work. Some of those, I can't keep up with those trends. I went to mine and scored some serious shoes for $1. I only got a few pairs.
Plato's sale, I bet.
Oh, I have most of my items in the garage, but leather and jewelry stays inside. There you go. Oh man, Stephanie beat you there. She got the 90% off.
I'm
Yeah.
usually always there, but I just couldn't. I have an embarrassing amount of stuff that I need to list. I
You're in
got
good company. It's okay.
I received 2 pallets and within a month of receiving them decided to go back to work. So that really slowed me down and it just all over it uh it just made an overwhelming amount of inventory now. So now I just really need to just focus on getting all that listed.
Yeah. There you go. That's good goals. It's enough right there. All right, my friends. Well, we are at the top of the hour, and I want to be respectful of your time. So if you haven't already, make sure to follow Deanna on her Instagram. Chrissy, thank you so much for sharing all of that in the group because I am trying to go between comments and banners, and there's no way I can go over to the chat. So thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
that and everyone for joining us tonight. And of course, thank you so much, Deanna, for giving so much insight. And as much as I didn't want this to be a Vendu infomercial, we gave some great tips. And I hope everyone learned and had fun.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
All right, everyone. Have a fabulous weekend. And I will see you guys next week. There's not going to be a show. My daughter's first dance competition is next Friday night. So we're going to take her up to Phoenix and she's going to do her dancing thing. And I will not have a live. So 2 weeks, I will have another live. But again, thank you so much, Deanna. Thank you so much, everyone who joined us. And I hope everyone has a fabulous weekend. You guys take care.